The South African Human Rights Commission says it will launch an investigation after receiving a complaint that tenants of an upmarket estate in Midrand were threatened that unless they were vaccinated, their lease would be terminated. Now, let's discuss this. We're joined via Zoom by Buang Jones, South African Human Rights Commission's Gauteng provincial manager. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Jones. I'd like us to discuss just some of the human rights violations that you've seen over the past couple of months. But let's perhaps start with this particular incident. Just how many people approached the Commission about this matter?
Thank you for having us. First and foremost, I would like to state that the South African Human Rights Commission supports the state's efforts to vaccinate as many people as possible, so that as a country, we are able to reach herd immunity. So the Commission has been inundated with complaints from a number of people concerning alleged forced vaccinations. And on the basis of our constitutional mandate and in the public interest, the Commission had to do something, and we have done so. Today, we held talks with a property management company that had issued a circular which patently bordered on violation of human rights, a violation of Section 12 of the Constitution, freedom and security of the person, and other constitutional rights. And through the Commission's intervention, Bondev Property Management Company has withdrawn the circular and has indicated that this matter will be resolved internally and no one will be forced to take the vaccine. We, however, wish to reiterate that people should take the vaccine, but the taking of the vaccine should be entirely voluntary.
And do you perhaps think that you will be seeing a lot of these kind of incidences being reported to you? As I speak to you now, we know that there was also a circular that was circulated in the basic education sector that basically was encouraging teachers to vaccinate, but somehow that was interpreted as if you do not vaccinate, you will then lose your job.
Yes, we have received reports, and in fact, some of the teachers have reached out to the Commission requesting our intervention, and we look forward to a frank conversation with the Department of Education in Gauteng in particular, because it has publicly pronounced itself on this issue. There are a number of teachers whose names have been collated and sent to their respective district offices, and they are worried about their job security and what this means for them. And as South Africa, we do not have adequate legislation which mandates compulsory immunization of the entire South African population, or which compels mandatory vaccination. And we have to assist as a constitutional body to ensure that there is that balancing act between the public and governmental interest on the one hand, and the constitutional rights that are implicated on the other hand. And we would like people to make an informed choice, but we also want people to heed the call, because it is in the interest of the country that people are vaccinated. It is also in the interest of the economy of the country, because since the start of COVID, it has had a debilitating impact, an adverse impact on economic activity. A lot of people have lost their livelihoods. If it means we need to get vaccinated in order to reopen the economy, people should be urged to do so. But we wish to reiterate, and we did so in our statement we issued in February, that the vaccination rollout should be voluntary, and no one should be compelled And that is what we are saying. And we want employers to also engage with the Commission so that we come up with solutions that meet the expectations of both the employer and employees. The Department of Employment and Labor has issued directives which guide employers on how to approach this very important human rights question, this very important human rights issue, as we are currently grappling with this global pandemic. And I'm hoping that employers will heed the guidance and advice from the department, will conduct their own assessment and determine whether a mandatory vaccination for their employees is needed. And if they come to that determination, there should be a consultative process that is undertaken in order to ensure that employees' rights are also respected in the process. We are also aware that in emergency situations, the National Health Act does make a provision for the health department or healthcare professionals to compel certain medical procedures. We do not yet have a case before a court of law that will test whether the conduct or the attempt to force vaccinations is consistent with our constitutional and human rights principles.
And as you rightfully say, I mean, it is a very important human rights matter. It's also a very delicate balancing act. I'm now wondering, what is your role should you find that, yes, indeed, here human rights have been violated? I mean, on the one side, those that have been vaccinated are also, asking if their human rights are being infringed by those that choose not to vaccinate. What can the Human Rights Commission do in cases where you do find clear violations of, for instance, basic human rights, but also that are infringed in the Constitution?
We have to assess each case on its own merits. We are also aware that Section 36 of the Constitution provides for the limitation of constitutional rights insofar as it is reasonable and justifiable in an open and democratic society based on human dignity, equality, and freedom. And in assessing every matter, we have to firstly look at the provisions of Section 12 of the Constitution, which provides that every person has the right to bodily and psychological integrity, which includes the right to make decisions concerning reproduction, to security and control over their body, and not to be subjected to medical or scientific experiments without the informed consent. We have to also look at the provisions of the National Health Act, which contains clear provisions for emergency treatment, for instances where consent is required, and for participation in decisions of a medical nature. And that is why we think this might be an ideal opportunity to have a test case to look at all these issues, because there are cases that talk to issues where people are compelled to undergo certain medical procedures. But our courts have not yet had the opportunity to decide on the issue of compulsory vaccinations, although there are other judicial pronouncements on Section 12 of the Constitution. So we are in uncharted territory, but we call on all South Africans to work with us, because we have to ensure that any decision that is taken is consistent with the Constitution, and that people take well-informed decisions. And we also have to also decide as the Commission on whether public interest outweighs the right to bodily and psychological integrity of individuals. These are important questions, human rights questions, legal issues that we still have to traverse.